research tells us that any physical activity is better than no physical activity in order to receive health benefits. However, current Center for Disease Control recommendations are 150 minutes per week of moderate to vigorous intensity exercise, or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity exercise. However, what does it look like to exercise at a moderate or vigorous intensity? Today, we're going to give you some tools on how you can measure that.
One way to know you are exercising at a moderate level is to understand what moderate feels like. An easy way to measure this at home is by the 3-minute step test. All you need is any step, a timer, and a metronome app on your phone. In order to ensure you are at a moderate intensity, you'll want to set the metronome to a cadence of 82 beats per minute. After you have it all set, all you have to do is step to the beat for the next 3 minutes. If you can complete this test, you know you are capable of exercising at a moderate intensity, and next time you are active, you will have an idea of how to adjust your level of activity to reach this intensity. Heart rate is a good measure of the level of intensity you are working at. Resting heart rate is between 60 and 100 beats per minute, but when you exercise, your heart rate will increase. The level at which it increases is based on your age. The highest level that your heart rate is able to increase is called your heart rate maximum. This is calculated by subtracting your age from 220. For example, if you are 40 years old, you would subtract 40 from 220 and get 180. That means for a 40-year-old, your heart rate can increase to 180 during maximum activity. However, when you are exercising at a moderate to vigorous intensity, you want to be working within 60 to 80% of your heart rate maximum. So again, if you are 40, that would mean you would want your heart rate between 108 and 144 beats per minute.
To measure your heart rate at home, you can either use a device like an Apple Watch, or you can measure your heart rate yourself using a watch. Find either your carotid pulse or your radial pulse at your wrist and time for 15 seconds, and then multiply by 4 to get the number of heartbeats per minute.
RPE, or the rate of perceived exertion, is your rating of the difficulty of an activity. This corresponds well to heart rate. As you can see, the scale goes from 6 to 20. This should be very similar to where your heart rate is if you multiply by 10. For example, if you rate an activity as a 15 for intensity, then your heart rate is probably close to 150 beats per minute.
Another way to gauge the intensity of an activity is by calculating the activity's MET level. A MET is a metabolic equivalent task and is a way of objectively measuring the difficulty of the activity. A MET is the amount of energy, the calories, you use in a minute. On this chart, you can see what MET levels constitute low, moderate, and vigorous intensity. You can also look here for examples of exercises that meet the desired MET intensity. Disclaimer, if this is too mathy and too confusing, skip ahead. But if this helps, feel free to use it.
If you want to know what MET level you are working at, most gym equipment has a feature that shows you the MET level of the intensity of exercise you are doing. Remember, it is not necessary to monitor, but if it is something that helps you, feel free to use it as a tool to know that you are working out at a moderate to vigorous intensity.
If you need some tools to start working out at home, you can use some apps on your phone. Some great apps are Nike Training Club, Nike Running Club, Swerkit app, and Couch to 5K. These are just a few examples of some apps that can get you started to do some exercises at home where you don't need a gym membership. Remember, any activity is better than no physical activity.